burst into an experience where suddenly every cell in my body was dripping ecstasy like that.
Suddenly.
Yeah, I was sitting on a rock
And so like it was like I was bringing my consciousness back in, and then I would be able to understand, and then it would go back out and I'd be like, I can't understand English, and then I'd bring it back and then I'd be able to understand what she's saying, and I had to really focus in and like get back into my body. Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Alexis. For anybody who doesn't know, welcome if you're new, or welcome back if you have been here before. I am the author of A Journey into Truth, Unveiling Life's Secrets for Truth Seekers, and this book talks all about the last 6 years of my life, the adventures I've been on as I've been on a spiritual journey, some of the teachings and life lessons and philosophies I have learned along the way as well. So if you're interested in learning more about that book, you can always visit my website at www.vibrate2create.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Vibrate2Create. Here on Vibrate to Create, I talk about all things spiritual and metaphysical. I also talk about my own personal life experiences, the awarenesses and life philosophies I've come to because of my experiences. I make reaction videos to things like spiritual teachers and spiritual teachings. And sometimes I also make entrepreneurial videos letting you guys know how to self-publish your own books. So if you're interested in that kind of content, then click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be notified of when I post new videos so you never miss a video. Today, I found out that Sadhguru and Joe Rogan are actually on a podcast together. So Sadhguru went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I have actually already reacted to both of them separately. So now today we're gonna get to see them kind of collide. Two worlds come together and see what happens, what comes up in this conversation. It's about 2 hours long, and I am going to watch the whole thing, but I'm probably going to break it up into parts and maybe do a few different videos and also cut some stuff out. So like I have said before, all of the videos that I react to are down in the description. So if you want to watch the whole thing without my reaction and also without things cut out, then that is down in the description. Alright, so let's get started.
See, right now the simple question is, what happens in your mind, your emotion, your chemistry, your energies must be your way, isn't it?
Well, it's yours, yes.
It is yours, so it must be your way. But it's not happening your way right now because it's in a compulsive reactive state.
Okay.
So anybody can cause anything within you. So if I decide what clothes you must wear, what food you must eat, what you should do every day, you will call this slavery, isn't it?
Or the government.
Don't go there. So, right now someone else, something else can decide what happens within you. Isn't this the most horrible form of slavery? That someone can decide whether you are happy or unhappy.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not
That's not the best path.
So the problem is just this, an intelligence which needs to be conscious is unfortunately unconscious and compulsive. So the only problem that you have is compulsive reaction to life around you. What is needed is a conscious response to life. So this simple thing people have not handled from their childhood.
Right.
So when you don't handle this one thing, everything will be wrong, everything will be accidental. Your success and failure both are accidental.
So what do you say to someone, maybe they're 30 years old, and they've had this life of mistakes and regret and maybe alcoholism or gambling or some other problems, but they want to be conscious, they want to be blissful, they want to be enlightened, they want to be a happy person, filled with love. What path do they take? What steps do they take to correct the journey they're on?
Why is it, though human beings are not the strongest creatures on the planet compared to other species, why is it the human beings are dominating this world? Simply because of our ability to use tools, isn't it?
And our intellect, our ability to manipulate our environment.
Yes, but even then if we didn't have knowledge of using tools,
right.
The buffaloes would have mowed us down, all right.
Yes.
So, your intellect, they don't care. It's your ability to use tools. You made an arrow, you made a gun,
yes.
You made so many things.
Made a house.
Yes.
Yes.
Everything, all
Yes.
instruments. Right now, microphone,
Yes.
or telephone, or whatever else. These are all instruments to enhance. We are this much Because of our instruments we become that much. Right now, there is one little screw here in this furniture. I will ask you, you're a strong guy, I will ask you to unscrew this with your hands.
Can't do it.
You do it, you may lose all your nails, I'll allow you to use your teeth, maybe you lose some of them.
It's gonna be a problem.
But it'll be right there.
But if
I give you a screwdriver, boom,
do it easy.
in a minute you'll get it out. So
Right.
this is the power of the tool.
Yes.
So as there are tools for doing things in the external world, there are tools to handle this. Because you don't have a toolkit, this machine, which is the most complex machine, is going crazy. Right now you're reading in engineering, it's a toolkit.
Yes.
You just use the tools, don't worry about the philosophy, don't worry about belief system, don't worry about your concept, somebody's concepts, your beliefs, somebody's beliefs. Just use the necessary tools. Being peaceful, joyful, loving is a natural outcome of that.
But I think that, I see what you're saying, that it works. But what I'm saying
why
is,
it works is
what
not-
are those tools? This is all very like mystical
No,
and difficult for
it's-
people to grasp.
There are mystical aspects also,
Okay.
but that is not for everybody.
But I mean,
That
this conversation
only for those who are interested in those things, who want to pursue that aspect. For the rest of the people, for somebody if their backache goes away, his life changes. For somebody if his headache goes away, his life changes.
Yes.
Somebody drops his alcohol consumption, addiction, his life changes.
Yes.
Somebody, some compulsive thought that maybe drives him crazy, that goes away. These are simple things. This is just a small screwdriver is all he needs, he doesn't need a total overhaul. Mysticism is a different aspect. It is like you're not just interested in living well, you want to know the very root of life.
Yes.
That's a different aspect, that's not for everybody. That is only for those who seek that. But for common people, all they want to do is they want to live peacefully, joyfully, with some sense of purpose to whatever they're doing in their lives. For this, it's very simple. You're talking about a case of a 30-year-old person who has this problem, this problem, this problem.
Yes.
I have millions of them with me.
I'm sure.
30, 40, 60, all kinds,
Right.
from 16 to any age, all right? So, if it did not work, they wouldn't be working for the foundation. We are a volunteer organization with 5,600 full-time volunteers and over 16 million part-time volunteers. Everything is done by volunteers.
Well, obviously you're doing something right.
It's working, that's all I'm saying.
So what is it? When you say it is working.
See, people don't know how to sit.
Right.
People don't know how to eat, what to eat, when to eat. They don't know. They're just eating like instinctively. See, instinctive existence would be fine if you had the intelligence of an animal. With this level of intelligence, if you function instinctively, you will be destructive to yourself and to everybody around you. That's what is happening in the world.
Instinctively is fine if you have an animal. Well, listen, I have an animal, and if I left a lot of food around, he would just eat himself to death.
Who? Animals?
Yeah.
They won't do that.
My dog would.
The dog has become like you, inspired by you, but if
Yeah, that's a problem.
wild
Wild
animal, wild
Right.
animal will eat what it wants and then
Yes,
it'll move on.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, humans have really messed dogs up. They've turned them into people.
Yeah.
Dogs are actually the human version of animals. So when you say it works, though, like for a person that is listening to this, that is seeking some sort of a path to a better life, what would you recommend they do first?
The simplest thing they need to understand is human experience is caused from within, not from outside. Right now, see,
I love it, I love it.
somebody can abuse you, let's say. They're just words. Right now I'm going to abuse you in a language that you don't understand. You know,
Okay.
India has 1,300 languages, I can choose.
1,300?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
So I'm going to use some Indian language and abuse you
Okay.
with a smile on my face.
Okay.
You think I'm saying something very sweet to you.
Go ahead.
Yes. So, my abuse is not hurting you at all.
Right.
It's only your reaction which is going to hurt you,
Got it.
right?
Yes.
So in whichever language it is, whatever nonsense it is only your reaction which hurts you, not my words ever.
Right.
But you think my words are hurting you. This you must change within you. You need to understand it's your compulsive reaction to life which hurts you, not what other people are doing.
Yes, you
Very
can
much
make a
possible.
conscious choice
Yes.
to create a healthy
So right now, because the patterns are so well established, it's like a rut in the street, a road, all right?
Yes.
If there is a deep rut in the road, even if you steer it this way, it drags you that way.
Yes.
So that is what is happening in people, because they have formed patterns, strong patterns. Even if they once in a way think, oh, I must give up the drink, they come off for 2 days and again they slip back into the same thing.
Yes.
Because there is a chemical pattern, there is a karmic pattern, there is a psychological pattern, there is a…
Really quickly, I wanted to jump in here for a second. Stop recording and re-record. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about when he talks about the patterns and the karmic implications that can sometimes lead to these different habits. So I have a lot of training, or am training. I'm going to begin my 2nd year of training in family constellations. And so this was a modality that was kind of developed by this man named Bert Hellinger. And I think he's from Germany. I have to look more into like exactly where he's from, but I know that he went and he traveled to like Africa and he met the Zulu tribe and learned a lot about how they believed family systems and how the family was connected to issues within a person's life. So our ancestors, they believed that our ancestors passed on certain traits or certain, like that there were ties to certain ancestors, and that's what kind of led to someone's behavior or someone's habits or personal things that happened in their life. And so they would come in and they would want help because of this certain thing that was connected to a family member, and they kind of concluded that their life was going that way because something behind them is driving them towards that. And it's kind of this pattern of behavior. And in family constellations workshops and actually working with people, I've learned so much about my own personal patterns, my own personal, what is that called? Ties to my own family system. And I've also learned so much about how sometimes addictions or certain patterns within one's life can be very connected to parents, to ancestors, to grandparents, and some of the decisions that they made in their lives can be passed on to the people who come after them. I definitely believe, because of my trainings and the things that I have seen, that there's a lot more to these bigger issues than just, oh, you have a chemical imbalance. And it's even been said in science that your DNA, like you have certain things in your DNA that can lead to certain outcomes or certain behaviors within a life. And family constellations really dives into that and kind of reworking those patterns, or actually bringing them to the surface so that people can consciously see what has transpired, or help to kind of open up that energy field to allow it to kind of not make someone feel powerless to actually take that path. Because sometimes it can be a very like unconscious like energy that's pushing you that way. And so bringing that to the conscious level and allowing those emotions to process and to feel that stuff and to actually look at it and become more knowledgeable of what is going on in the family system can lead to a lot of change in somebody's life. Yeah, so I kind of just wanted to interject there really quickly that there's a lot more than we currently know about or can really like explain as to why certain people take certain actions or are driven in certain directions in life. And sometimes it has to do with passed away ancestors, it has to do with things that our ancestors have done to other people.
Compulsiveness built into the body itself, the whole system. So that is working that way. There are various tools and technologies as to how to break these patterns. But they must be willing to subject themselves. You can't force them to do it. It is not something by force. It can only be done when somebody is willing, when they have a genuine desire. Then there are tools. If you don't have the desire, even if I give you the screwdriver, you'll turn it the wrong way and tighten it further, I'm saying.
Right. I see what you're saying. So, what actions should someone take besides recognizing that the way they react to things is a conscious choice? That they choose to either be upset or not be upset, or to react to these external.
Don't go there. See, upset, not upset, that is not the point.
No?
Are you a conscious response, or are you an unconscious compulsive reaction? This is the only thing. Reaction or response.
So,
Response means, right now I say something that you may not like.
mhm.
Now you can respond the way you want, not because of what I said.
Right.
You continue to say what you want. This is your response.
Or you don't have to react.
If you react, you in some way unknowingly you become enslaved to me, isn't it?
Ah. That's what a lot of people love to do, right?
Yes.
That's why they start fights.
They're always reacting.
Yes.
They think reacting is the way to live.
Yeah.
Well, if you react, you become somebody's slave. I must tell you this. On a certain day, a yogi was coming this way, coming to Joe Rogan's show. On the way, somebody stopped him on the street and abused him in every possible way. He listened to everything carefully, not ignoring them, listening to, very alert, listening to every word of abuse. Then he looked at the time and he said, "See, I have a show, I need to go. I've finished that and come back. If you have something more to say, you can tell me that." Now these guys don't know what to do with him. If these are that kind of people, they will say 100 things. If you say one thing, next thing is they'll beat you. But now if you say 100 things, he says, "I'll come back for more." You don't know what to do with him. Why he is like this is, he's decided that he is the master of his destiny. No matter who does what, he will go where he wants to go. Intelligent man or no? A man who goes where he wants to go, no matter what anybody else is doing to him, that is a smart man, isn't it?
Well, it's definitely a better choice than just being a reactionary.
If you're a reaction, you'll go away their way.
Yes.
Somebody will take you their way, somebody will take you this way, somebody will take you that way. Such a person, will they ever achieve anything that they wish to in their life?
They might get lucky.
See, those who achieve things by luck always live with the fear of losing it.
Yes. They panic,
Yes.
right? And they're always worried, and they get greedy.
So the word yoga in United States, it scares me. Because here yoga means you must look like a leftover noodle, twisted out like this, like that.
Right.
The word yoga means union.
Union.
Union means, right now, we were talking about the soil. As you sit here, you are just an outcrop of soil. You may not realize this because you're sitting on a chair, you're wearing shoes, and because you can prance around. But if you were made like a tree, you would clearly understand you are part of the soil, isn't it? So what is there to say? So this teacher is asking me some question. I'm looking at him. I know his past, present and future sitting there, but I don't know what he's talking about. Initially I hear the words, after some time I'm just seeing him like a blob of energy, like that, and I know that guy through and through, but I don't know what he's talking. About 35-40 minutes he tried to get an answer from me. I didn't say nothing. So he came, held me by the shoulder, shook me violently like this, and said, "You must be either the divine or the devil. I think you're the later." See, till then my problem was I didn't know what is this, what is that, what is that, what is that. But it was clear this is me. Suddenly this guy confused me about this also. I looked at myself, what is this? Is this divine, devil? What the hell is this? This question had never come to me till I was 12. I had a question about everything in the universe. But this was clear, this was me. Suddenly this guy confused me about this also. Then I tried to stare at myself, it didn't work. I started closing my eyes. And initially it started with minutes, it went into hours, it went into days. Sometimes I just closed my eyes and sat for days on end. This changed the whole experience of my life. When I was 25, I just burst into an experience where suddenly every cell in my body was dripping ecstasy like that.
Suddenly.
Yeah, I was sitting on a rock and just I burst out like this. For the first time in my life, adult life, tears were coming. Tears and me were impossible, I lived like that. So I was just wondering what's happening when I thought it's 10-15 minutes. When I came out, it was 4.5 hours, my shirt was wet with tears. That what's happening to me? Am I going off the rocker or something? That's the only thing my skeptical mind could tell me, because I was a super skeptic about everything in the universe. I had a question about everything, about the family structure, about the society, about religion, about politics, about economics, about everything.
So what do you think was happening?
I'll tell you. Then I talked to my closest friends, hey, something is happening to me, I'm just blissed out. If I just talk to them, tears are coming to me. I said, what's happening to you, man? What did you drink? What did you pop? This is a question. Then I knew there was no context to my experience, so I started spending more and more time by myself. And I realized, if I just take my hands off my mind completely, then I see that every cell in my body just bursts out with blissfulness. Then I established this properly within myself, how to do that. Then I sat down and made a plan. At that time, the world's population was 5.6 billion people. I made a plan. In 2.5 years' time, I will make the whole world ecstatic. Here I am 40 years later. It took me time to realize people are so deeply invested in their miseries that even if you offer them the best thing, they will go round and round and round around that, not getting the point.
So before he goes on with this story, I want to talk a little bit about my experience that he reminded me of when he was talking about that experience that he had where he felt like every single cell of his body was just in ecstasy and he was crying tears and just had this complete awakening, if you want to call it that, or a shift in consciousness or an opening of consciousness. And I have had a couple of experiences like that, but one of them in particular was very, even like this humongous shift or this humongous opening. And that was, I talk about it in my book. And there had been many things leading up to that point because I had been learning and going to classes and things because I was so preoccupied with the idea of trying to figure out the nature of the universe, the nature of what happens after we die, and what is our consciousness, what is this, who am I, what is me, without all of these ideas of, oh, I'm a college student, or I'm his girlfriend, or I'm Alexis, or I'm, all of these things. I wanted to understand what is the underlying of all of it. What does it mean to be a human, and what does it mean to be part of this universe? And so I had gone on this really long journey, and a couple years into that journey, I was gifted a cruise to go see Abraham Hicks. And Abraham Hicks had been one of the first teachers that I was introduced to on my spiritual path. And so finally coming to this point of watching so many ideas and videos of other people as well, but also so many of Abraham Hicks's teachings, and coming up to this point where I was going to be right in front of that teacher that I had felt so connected to at the beginning. And so I was on this cruise and we were going to Alaska, and I remember feeling, even before that moment, I felt so calm and peaceful, and like I felt like something was coming or something was about to shift or change. And then like that was the day before, while we were on the cruise, just kind of already, I was looking over at the water and I could feel this kind of bubbling up, if you want to call it that. And the day of my first workshop, where I would be the first day sitting in front of her, I don't think it necessarily was this specific teacher that kind of caused this shift. I think it had more to do with my being ready, or my opening. I don't know how to describe it. It's really hard to describe, but I'm going to do my best here. So I remember even before the workshop, like an hour before, I was in the hotel room, or in the cruise ship room, the room that I had. And my roommate, because I had had a roommate on this cruise ship, and she was off, doing gym. And I had already planned that I wanted to go to the seminar room early because I wanted to be able to go up to the front. And so I was getting ready a couple of hours before the workshop was about to start. And so I was sitting in front of a mirror, and I remember like looking at myself, and then all of a sudden just these tears just started coming out of my eyes, and I was just like sitting there staring at myself, trying to do my makeup while I'm also like crying my eyes out. And like I couldn't figure out why I was crying, but it was just this deep sense of like love. And like the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow was coming on, and just the way that the music was sounding was so different, and like I felt like I understood so much about this person who was singing this song, and like just so connected. And then finally it was about to be before the seminar. I was there really early before anybody really showed up to go see it because I wanted to be in the front. And then finally they opened up the doors, and I like ran in and went up to a specific spot, and I was like, this is where I'm sitting, right in the very front row. And keep in mind, this is like a seminar room of hundreds of people, so I'm like up way in the front. And so I sit down, and then I'm waiting and waiting, and people are just kind of filling in one by one. And before it was about to start, they have like this countdown, and they start playing this song, and then there's like a man up front who's filming everybody, and so you're getting to see people up on the projectors like dancing and having fun, and then you're hearing this music. It's like the theme song. And then I remember I was sitting there, and I already started like bawling my eyes out, and I couldn't understand why am I crying. And then like the 3, 2, 1 came on, and then Esther came and like walked out. I'm already getting like emotional talking about it, but she walked out, and then in that moment like everyone stood up, and you could feel the excitement. But for me, like I could not stand. I felt like I had lost control of my whole body, and I was just sitting there bawling my eyes out. I have never cried like that in my life. And it was just this overwhelming sense of love come over me. And like I wanted to stand, but I didn't have control over my body, and my body just kind of went like completely frozen. And then like I've never cried to the point where like I had to like make noises, but I was like trying to make noises, and I was like thinking back, like if you saw me, you probably would have been like, what is wrong with that girl? Anyways, so I was crying my eyes out, and then she like brought somebody up on the stage to begin talking. And I remember she started talking, and I could not understand the words. Like it felt like I lost sense of what is English. It was just like, I can't even explain. Like it was like, it sounded like gibberish, almost like I was like out of my body in a different way of perceiving the world. Like as if you would think if an angel was looking through your eyes at something and couldn't understand the human concepts and constructs that we have built up with like conversation and words and this human perception. I felt like I had taken on a different kind of perspective, and like all of a sudden in that moment I completely understood so much about my life and why things happened and led me to this moment. And I cried and cried and cried. And this workshop, I think it was like 3 hours or something, I cried the entire time like this. And I remember when I couldn't understand the English, I was kind of like, what is going on, trying to come back to my body. And so like it was like I was bringing my consciousness back in, and then I would be able to understand, and then it would go back out, and I'd be like, I can't understand English, and then I'd bring it back, and then I'd be able to understand what she's saying. And I had to really focus in and like get back into my body. And then yeah, so I was crying the whole time. And during the break, this woman was like, the woman sitting next to me, she goes, you must be so grateful to be here, because she was like noticing how much I was crying. And I told her, I've never felt anything like that. It's not human. And she gave me this look like, I don't understand. I wasn't trying to say like, oh, she's an alien, like that's not human. But what I was saying is like this energy I was feeling, it felt very otherworldly. It felt like I was tapped into something completely outside of me, outside of anything any of us knows exists or know. Like it was just this crazy moment in time, and I cried the whole time. And I've never felt that sense of like gratitude or just like utter absolute pure, like the purest of love that there could possibly be in the world, to the point where it was almost painful to be in a human body. And I was like, just take the body off, because I want to be able to feel the fullness and freedom of what it means to be a spirit and not a human body, because I felt like it was so limiting to me. And then yeah, afterwards I was so in such like a divine state, I don't know exactly how to describe it, that I just went upstairs, because they had this little lounge where there were like little seats where you could watch over the ocean, and it was very quiet and nobody was in there. So I went to my room, I grabbed a journal after the workshop finished, and I went to this small little lounge, and I just sat there and cried some more, and kept crying, and was watching over the ocean. And just like even looking at the ocean, I was sitting there staring at it, and like I felt like I could be in that moment for the rest of my life and be satisfied, to be in that kind of state and looking over at the ocean in that state. It was just so beautiful. And I've had more experiences like that, but that's been the biggest one, where it felt like completely out of this world. So I wanted to kind of interject with that really quickly, because I have experienced something very similar.